This is Mrs. O'Neill for Chapter 10, Section 2, Part 4, your two-step mole practice problems. So you should have your mole island from your packet. That's going to be helpful. Your real periodic table, because that's going to be helpful to get the masses when we're dealing with mass island. Your periodic chart of ions, because I sometimes give you the names of the compounds and not the formula, so you're going to need that to help come up with the formulas of the compounds in order to, or the substances in order to find the masses, and of course your calculator. So we'll just want to remind you that these are two-step problems. So not only are you going to be going from mass to moles, you have to go from moles to, let's say, volume, or vice versa. So remember, you can't go from mass island to volume island on one step. You have to take that two-step process because there's two bridges that you have to cross in order to for that to happen. And remember, those alligators are there to get at you if you try. So these are your practice problems. So what I have in this video is the setup for number one. And so if you have your setup correctly, then you can kind of keep playing along for the answer. So for the first 5 practice problems, I show you the setup first and then the answer second. And then for 6 through 10, I just show you all of the work and the answer at one time. So you pace yourself on how to do these practice problems. Do you want to just try them all and check your answers? Do you want to do maybe 1 and 2, check your setup, and then continuing to play the video to check your answers? It depends on how you feel comfortable doing these practice problems. At this point, you should have at least paused the video and tried at least number 1. So if we look at number 1, this is the setup. So if you have the setup, you can continue playing the video, or you pause the video, make sure that your setup is correct, maybe double check your calculated answer, and then play to hear the answer. So that is your setup. That's what you should have. I have your units correct, and you should have the numbers correct. Now, do you have this mass? If you don't have this mass, that might mean that your formula of the compound is incorrect. So here's the correct answer, your unit of formula units, because it's an ionic compound, and that's the correct formula for that substance. So at this point, you should have the setup, you should have the mass correct, the answer with the proper unit. All right, so hopefully you paused, you tried number 2. Number 2's setup looks like this. And again, I'm looking at your units are correct, your setup is correct, and your mass is correct. Yet again, another area here where I give you the name of the compound, so you have to come up with the correct formula in order to decide what the correct mass is. So hopefully you paused, you checked your work, you checked your calculator to get that as an answer. So again, here's our number, unit of grams, and then our substance is CiO2. All right, pause and try number 3. So number 3 setup is this way. Again, same kind of deal here, right? You're checking your setup for the units, you're checking your mass for the correct substance, and now you should have done the calculations to get this as your answer. So 25.17 liters of SO2. All right, so pause and do number 4. You should have paused and tried number 4, and so number 4 setup is this way. So hopefully you paused and checked your setup that your units are correct, because they'll cancel out. And in this case, even though I give you hydrosulfuric acid, there's no need to come up with the mass. So I do want to emphasize that don't always come up with the mass of your substance if you don't need it. That's an extra step that you're not going to need all the time. So in this case, we're dealing with liters and molecules only. So we're dealing with the 22.4 conversion and the particle conversion, the Avogadro's number. So pause and make sure your setup is correct, and then plug and chug into your calculator. Hopefully you paused and checked everything out and you got that as an answer. And again, I don't want to see the E here, right? Even if it shows you E on your calculator, you need to change that E to times 10. And again, molecules of H2S. That's the formula, but in this case, it's not needed. All right, pause and do number 5. So hopefully you got this as a setup, and since we are going to grams, you are going to need the formula mass of oxygen gas. Not just oxygen atoms, but oxygen gas. Remember, he's one of those diatomic molecules, so his formula is O2. So make sure that your setup is correct and you're doing the math correct. All right, so again, you should have paused, you should have divided and multiplied and divided and multiplied and divided, and then equals. Remember all of that from the previous video. So your answer is 2.07 grams of O2 gas. So at this point, guys, hopefully it's starting to make more sense. Hopefully you're getting the idea of how to set it up. And now 6 through 10, I just show you the setup and the answer all at one time. So hopefully you paused the video, you did 6 through 10, and again, if you are having issues or not understanding something, this is when you either go back to the prior videos, you ask somebody in class, or you ask me in class. So here is number 6 answer. So check that your setup is correct, your answer, your unit, and if you need that substance formula. In this case, we're not dealing with grams, so you do not need the formula of your substance. Number 7, again, look that over, and in this case, again, I'm dealing with ions and not atoms or molecules, so the chloride ion would just be Cl-1. And in this case, you would need to know that, right? It's not chlorine gas, it's not the diatomic molecule of chlorine, it is the chloride ion, which would just be Cl-1. So we only need the mass of 1 chloride ion. Number 8. In this case, I gave you the name and the formula. How nice of me. Number 9. And this is just an element only, so we're dealing with atoms. And finally, number 10. And in this case, again, I gave you that nice compound formula, which I think we used that some other time, so you might have had that mass somewhere else also in your packet of notes. All right, so hopefully this is making sense. Next video is going to be on a mixture of these types of problems where you're going to have single steps, or I should say 1-step mole problems and 2-step mole problems, and you're going to have to figure out when to use 1 step, when to use 2 steps, and what conversions you're going to need in order to get the correct answer. All right, I hope you had fun.